Wait, isn't everybody at war over atheism?
Atheism? No, we've learned to get rid of all the isms in our time. Yes, long ago we realized isms are great for those who are rational, but in the hands of irrational people, isms always lead to violence.
Welcome, everybody. This is a bad start to this new one because I already fucked up this episode. So yay for me. This is great. I'm Tim. Welcome to Tim's Two Cents, which is, as you can see, by the dumb podcast name, this is also the kind of dumb person you're getting along with this. I'm trying to build something out of just being an idiot, though, so if you guys can try to help me to do that, follow me at BakersDozen93 on Twitter. You can also follow the other guys I do podcasts with. I'll get into their names later. But thank you, I guess, for finding me. I have to give some thanks for Daniel as well for putting all this stuff together. I would also love for somebody to give me an out, some way to get out of having to work for Daniel, give him money. And also, it's Daniel, and then it's also Chronologic, who's our biggest sponsor right now. They're sponsoring all these new episodes that we've been doing. They're what's actually letting us do the multiple shows right now, which is cool. They are, and what's cool about Chronologic, it's chronologic.network. It's, I'm just going to read off their website because I've so many times before done episodes where I try to, in my own words, explain what they do, and it's never a good idea. Basically, Chronologic technology is used to create debt and innovative time-based smart contracts. It supports temporal innovation with its partnership with Ethereum Alarm Clock, aimed to solving core problems on the Ethereum blockchain. So the way I've always kind of tried to describe is the reason why something like Chronologic is at least cool. You don't have to be in Ethereum. I don't really even pay attention to Ethereum, but it's still something cool to see. It's cool to see people developing something, and even if it doesn't, it's 1 hour away from launching. Okay, never, or no, that's the next minting. I'm sorry, I fucked this up. But yeah, check them out. Check out chronologic.network. They're doing cool things. If you want a more decentralized world, which is one of probably the only things I care about, something like this is at least a step in the right direction. So check them out. Let them know you heard about them through us. But like, as I said, they're also sponsoring some other shows on the network. This is the Yumi and BTC network, I guess. We also need another name for that. So again, get me on Twitter. But Daniel and I, and then John used to do it. Zach is now doing it with us. We're not the best with coming up with names. Actually, Zach's isn't bad. The Coin Pod, actually, if I am being honest, every single other person's title is a little bit better. It's their podcast name is definitely better than mine. You have like unpopular opinions, which is at least like it grabs at you. That's that has nothing to do with Bitcoin. That's just two guys talking. They both I was about to say where they live. I don't want to give that out. I'm not sure if they do or not. But check them out. They talk about older video games, wrestling, kind of stuff like it's almost like it's a reminisce. A lot of it is reminisce of the 90s, kind of, I think. And then also they do cover more like modern stuff too, and like go over things. Like I think the one guy, Ryan, he lost a package a couple weeks ago, I think. So check that out. It's just stories with them. They're a video podcast. You get them on YouTube. But then Zach has the Coin Pod, which is just him interviewing smart people and Zach coming up with the right questions to ask those people, which is something I don't even know if I could do it. I guess technically, if I put in enough work, I should be able to do it. Not necessarily as good as somebody, but I'd be able to competently do it. I just have no desire to do that. I much prefer just ranting by myself. This is good now, too, because I have a roommate where I live, and it's weird to kind of yell about stuff in here. So he's gone. I don't have to worry about saying something that then he's going to text like the police, and they're going to, well, I guess they're going to hear anyway. So, but again, make sure you check out Zach's podcast, the Coin Pod. Has guys on there. If it has anything to do with cryptocurrency, he's probably going to cover it at some point. He's a very good interviewer. He always has good guests on. And then our flagship show is the Yumi and BTC podcast, which we have every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. That's all. That's pretty much a hangout between. I'm sorry, I'm having a little bit of cough. I don't know what a little bit of a cough was, but whatever. Me, Daniel Brown, and Zach Vole, or I guess I have to say Daniel Brown, Zach Vole, and I, Tim Baker. I don't know if I've introduced myself for this podcast, but I at least gave the name of the podcast, so that's good enough. Going back to everybody else has good podcast names. But that show, the Yumi and BTC show, is, as you can guess from the name, is cryptocurrency related most of the time, but also has to do with, I don't know, we'll talk about like philosophy sometimes. None of it's supposed to be like, please, if you do come and take us for advice, which we do have an advice of the week after every episode, which I hope everybody's following. If you do something and it goes badly, I'm not responsible. But if it does go well, I am. That's just how it works. I can't really change that. But like I said, it's a live show every 9 p.m. Eastern and Thursday nights. I guess that should be live every 9 a.m. or 9 p.m. Thursdays. But we're live like that. I don't know what live like that means. This is just shitty. I do apologize for that. But anyway, the Yumi and BTC show, it's a live show, so we have a chat going. You can get involved with us there. If you don't want to get involved with us there, which I understand completely, especially after this beginning of the podcast, you can get us on Twitter. Like I said, I'm at Baker's Dozen 93, and Zach Vole is at it's at Zach Vole. I'm trying to look up now how to exactly spell it because I always mess it up. It's ZACKVOELL, and then Daniel is just at the Yumi and BTC on Twitter. Anyway, now that I'm somehow gotten into, I guess, what I maybe want to talk about, I'm in a very not depressing mood, and it's weird because I feel like I go through stages, or not stages, but it does seem like cycles, and it can be anything from like the weather to just thinking about a certain thing where I feel real down about myself. Not down, it's not even like real down about myself, but just kind of life, I guess. That comes from a lot of things, and I'm not trying to say that it should look like that to other people, but I do go sometimes, well, okay, like, so we just keep doing this. So I get like, I don't think I'm like legitimately depressed. I don't like, cause I have people in my family, only it's not even a wide ranging, at least from the ones I know. I have heard about some older relatives that have had some, apparently my like great grand aunt, and this sounds like a fake story, but my great grand aunt or something she was traveling across to some place. I don't know. Half of my family is from like fucking Missouri. No, not Missouri. Wisconsin. I don't know why I mixed those two up, but from Wisconsin. So at some point they did the dumb thing and kept traveling past everything that was on the East Coast. Apparently they were traveling in between places. This great whatever aunt was also with her daughter and then her husband, the daughter's husband. They were traveling. She declared she did not want to go any further. They're going through the woods. They set her down in a chair, and then they continue on to the next town. When they come back after resupplying, making sure they got to the town, they come back and she's just gone. They had left her with a rocking chair. It was her favorite rocking chair or whatever. It sounds like a creepy family story. I'll just kind of assume it's real, but whatever. But all that to say, if that lady didn't have mental illness, I don't know what mental illness is. But I don't feel like I'm legitimately, like, you can feel bad and you can have issues with what's going on, and it doesn't have to be this, like, that's who I am. Part of the problem, and this isn't really this isn't a knock for somebody who does apply something to themselves, but, and I the only reason why I feel like I have experience in this is because someone who I basically grew up with worked a lot in social services, and they talked a lot about how people, they will self-diagnose, and there are a decent amount of things saying that this can just lead to stuff. Like, if you can really just imagine you have something, then for all intents and purposes, you do have it, because you can mimic a lot of symptoms of things. Not everybody does that, but there's enough of a, like, trend of people to hype up what's the matter with them to the point where everything is just about how they're messed up. And we, like, this is what's wrong with me. This is why. This is. It's like okay. Like I get that because it's interesting, and I like talking to people about something that like dark that happened, or like when they felt the worst about themselves, or when they thought that. Actually, I don't know why I'm saying I like to talk about people. I only really do that with people I know because I'm worried about asking something or asking somebody something, and then them going, "What the fuck's the matter? Why would you ask me that?" But I kind of like the weird stuff that makes people who they are, or at least seem to make people who they are. I'm not sure that I really believe events can definitely be traumatic, and it depends on the event, but certain things that people like that was a turning point in my life, or it was this thing that just happened. It's like, maybe like, obviously if you're assaulted in any way, like your brain is gonna, your mind is going to be traumatized. Like the invasion of your space, the invasion of whether it's in your home, in the public, like you have your kind of facade of safety taken away from you. So you're you're going to have some kind of mental trauma. And that's the whole awful thing about any kind of an assault is, well, it's the awful thing, but it's also, we're very anesthetized to death in our, not death. I shouldn't even say, because it's beyond that. We used to be anesthetized to death. Now we're anesthetized to violence to the point where, anesthetized isn't really the right way to describe that either. I guess I'd say more like we're just so cut off from it. Like most people's, like the vast majority of people's consuming of violence or just viewing violence isn't firsthand. At least I would think. I mean, obviously some people are, but I would say the majority of people in the U.S., and I'm going to stick with that, like the majority of them, they've seen the most violence through like a video camera or something like that. Now you can debate whatever. I'm probably entirely wrong, but I understand trauma as far as if it's an assault, but if it's just, well, my dog died and then my uncle died in 2 months together, and so it was just like there are people do guilt trip. And that's something I've done that before. Like my entire childhood growing up, like partly, I think this was partly because of the whole like super conservative Christian upbringing, but my parents weren't angry. Like I remember I don't have no problems with my childhood. Now my voice just cracked there, so maybe I'm lying, but I don't really have any traumatic experiences from my childhood, really. My parents did, for all intents and purposes, a pretty good job. As far as but I definitely, maybe it had to have been partly too, because just going to church and being involved in something like that is a very emotional thing. Like that's a lot of the allure of politics and then religion. It's the allure of any kind of a group, is the emotional impact it has on you. And that's where like politics, normally people would just be like, no, you're just caught up with the spirit of revolution. Like, what does that mean? And then church is like, well, the Holy Spirit is moving through you and now you feel elated. And I get that. It's a nice description for something, but most of the evidence we have pushes towards it being the emotional thing. That doesn't disprove God or even anything close to it. It just means that maybe we're a little bit more of like, a lot of people talk about how, now it depends on which side you are. Now I won't even go down that road about that stuff. But for all that to say, I understand trauma like that and having issues, but it is okay to have, geez, I went on so much of a rabbit trail with that. But I guess that's what I've been trying for. Like I've been just trying to do a podcast where I can just actually rant. I've been trying to think of topics, and I don't really rant. I more just like pick data, but I don't know. We'll see if anybody even likes this. Now I'm just trying to think of what I was talking about before, but who knows? Feeling bad about something isn't isn't the end of the world. So just like keep doing stuff. Like it's something kind of dumb, and it's almost like, well, just don't look at the bad stuff. But if you have time where you're just like, I don't know what to do. I don't really see the point of doing this. We're kind of just like, I'm just going to listen to another podcast. I've had those thoughts where I'm just like, I'm just going to listen to like all these podcasts for the next 10 years. I've heard so many more conversations than I've ever been a part of, and something about that seems kind of wrong to me. But no, that's why I like this podcast too, because it's not a conversation. This is me just yelling at you. But it's okay to feel bad. It's okay to do whatever. It's okay to be whatever. Just, if you need something, bury yourself in creating something. It doesn't even have to be good. Nothing I create is ever good. It's just a kind of an outpouring of whatever. Whenever I do like doing it, like whenever it's enjoyable for me, it's just an outpouring of whatever kind of emotion. Because I don't know, I go through the day and I like see something, or I hear somebody say something and I go, okay, do I want to address whatever this is, or I just want to kind of like sit it and let it just brew in my mind? And a lot of times I just go, I'm just going to let it sit there, and then it kind of moves your thinking along a different path than maybe it would have. And I think that's probably wasteful if you can get rid of the like either anger or stress or whatever brewing inside your head and somehow channel it into something that has to be. And again, I can't do it. I think that's like what I'm chasing at this point, is an ability to kind of just like lose myself in something. But again, this is that on top of everything else has been a long rabbit hole onto, I don't feel so bad anymore. I feel pretty good right now. And mostly that's been from me just looking at just stuff on the internet. It's kind of, it's cool. I like it. I like everybody being able to say stuff. And I do really support. I don't even want to say I support, because I don't do anything for it. I just do a podcast. I do nothing for free speech. And like, neither does anybody else most of the time. You can say maybe if you're pushing the boundaries of something, you're protecting free speech, because maybe you're causing other people to not worry about it so much. Like by using free speech, you're getting people used to the free speech being used, so that whenever it gets taken away or infringed upon, they go, hey, wait, what are you doing? You can make that argument, but yeah, maybe. Who all is really saying something that's all that crazy? Like, everybody's just on Twitter. Obviously, some people say some weird shit, but that's a very small, not even weird shit. Weird shit a lot of people say. But when it comes to actually having a decision or an opinion on some random thing that happened that we have no reason at all to know about. It affects my life not at all to know that something is going on in Oregon. And I get it does. So shut the fuck up. I get that it does affect my life through whatever cause. But as far as that information helping me, that is not good. Like, it's going to affect my life, but me hearing that is not going to affect my life. I don't need that. I don't need to be told about every single shooting that I just don't enjoy that as much. Like, I don't enjoy the, oh no, what happened? I just go, oh great. Yeah, okay. Because it's like, if you aren't focused, and I do remember, and I remember having emotions over this whenever I was, and I still get bothered, because this whole podcast came out of me looking up the old video, or I didn't even watch the video. I couldn't. It bothers me too much, of the guy in the hotel in Arizona, and I'll look up his name real quick, but he was on the floor, crawling towards a cop, and the cop shot him. Oh, fuck. I don't now my history is not being very cooperative. But anyway, the cop was acquitted. I then found that article really quickly after, where the cop who did shoot the man, who was unarmed, was crawling towards the officer, as they said, and the guy's name was Daniel Shaver. Yeah, Daniel Shaver. He was at a hotel, was shot because he was crawling towards the officer as he was being ordered to, and was then shot whenever he reached down to, as the officer said, he thought he was going to pull a gun, which, why haven't you just already handcuffed him? But what could very easily have been just the man pulling his shorts up because they were sliding down because he didn't want to be naked in front of a man with a gun. But then also apparently on audio, and this is why I couldn't listen, the cop tells the guy he's fucked. This guy's screaming at him not to be shot. I think he was the guy who was shot was drunk, so then the cops just go like, yeah, no, he was out of his control. We never get drunk and beat the shit out of it. Like, they act like this doesn't happen with, like, it's a... I don't even know what exactly happened, but he didn't, like, you... I don't even know what this had to do with it. But, like, I felt... Like, I get that it's good for me to know that, but at this point, what does this do? Like, and I guess that was the point I was trying to make, was I used to feel... like really angry anytime I saw people get killed by the police, get beaten up by the police. Like I was never like anywhere even close to left to center, but I at least back then had some sympathy for the Occupy Wall Street people whenever they were getting like beat up. Like I at least had some sympathy for them. And it's not that I don't have sympathy for them now. It's just I just don't care right now, because to me it's already kind of like the discussion is already over. Like the police just get to do what they want, and I get people who be like, well, no, they can't actually do that. There's actually a law in and I can't even say that with a straight. It's like, what are you talking about? Yeah, they're probably going to get brought up into a court, but they could the court is dependent upon them. And this is the one thing that people will never admit to you about anything, really, is that people go with their fucking incentives. And nobody seems to acknowledge this. Nobody seems to care. And they just go, no, well, virtue will save us in this hour of when we need impartial justice. This man who also works with this police department and kind of depends on their business to run his establishment and be paid what he is and have the clout that he does and be able to fuck the hotter wife that he has or the escort service he pays for, and you're going to decide that virtue and a desire to uphold the law and all of the honor that comes with that, you're going to assume that man is going to make a unbiased judgment on that. And then people go, yes. Well, why wouldn't they? I said, what are you talking? You wouldn't. That's the thing is, you hear these people talk about, like, this is on either side. There's Republicans, this is Democrats, and they're just like talking about how irresponsible these people are, and there's like they're making jokes about molesting children, and then everybody was like, well, now they're making jokes about Nazis. That means they're Nazis. And then I'm like, the exact same people. I'm like, you're both just getting like fucking trashed weekly, at least. Which, again, like. And like I get that you have to get trashed, or you don't have to, but plenty of successful people do. But successful people don't get trashed, do the same thing over and over again, and stay with the same people over and over. If you're not going forward in something, after a couple months, you kind of have to cut your losses and try something else sometimes. Now, I get that maybe you should stick to something longer, and that's fine, good advice, but also sometimes, and this is why I like doing this show, is because I can just be completely cloudy and not make any actual statements, is sometimes you just have to go, well, maybe this isn't me, maybe this doesn't work for me, maybe these people don't work for me, and you should be progressing through things, I think, in life. You shouldn't be, like, look back a couple of years ago and go, yep, I was amazing then. Like, you should probably be developing something. And I think that's what, like, I guess successful people do. Like, it seems they just kind of, they take everything that everybody else complains about being a burden, the whole, like, I'm just worried about stuff all the time, and I'm just don't, and they just fix that. They go, oh, instead of being worried about it, I'm going to do it. And I'd say this as somebody who, until last year, every single year, would wait until the last, like, three weeks to do my taxes, which obviously isn't that bad. Plenty of people do it worse. And that was always the excuse I used for all kinds of things was, well, at least I'm doing better than like 50% of everybody else. But if I, at least, like, I have done some stuff in the past where it takes some discipline. I'm not amazing, but I can get myself into a state where I can be pretty disciplined about stuff, whether that's diet, exercise, reading stuff, or studying, anything. Now, who knows if I could still get back into that, but I think it's not that hard for me to try to focus on. It's probably a good idea for me to focus on and get disciplined about something. And I don't even know where this was going. It was something about being disciplined, something about how, who knows, but fuck. I guess I was talking about the shooting. I was talking about how the police and everything is just made up. Like, any kind of a system we have now is going to be so entrenched in tradition, in people's minds and everything, that it might go, but we've seen, like, government institutions very rarely, especially in this country, really go away. I don't think, like, there was prohibition, but, like, most of the time you can have plenty of things in the free market fall out and there's advancement and blah blah blah. Politics stay pretty much the same, and that's not an undue criticism. Like, you might, well, that doesn't count because it's not, like, you're not innovating new devices, but it's like, well, why don't we innovate how we do politics, or at least try to do something better? Maybe, like, have all these political science. But, like, I don't understand what political science has been doing for the past 50. Like, people say, yeah, I study political science. I'm like, I don't know what that means. What are you doing? Is it you just learn how to defend just a fucking tomahawk missile to the face of a baby? No, I mean, that's obviously an extreme example, but I don't get what all of this, like, political stuff, and we have all these graphs and charts about all this different bullshit, and we just don't do anything with it. We go, well, let's vote on this other person, and they're going to set up this new government agency, and it's going to eventually make everything better. And this is weird that I feel better about this, but this is kind of the whole point of the episode, is that I think it isn't just the courts. It isn't just Congress. It isn't just whatever pet idea you have in your head that you think is wrong with everything in America and is wrong in the world, and is good. Like, if it is changed, that will fix everything. If Bitcoin if Bitcoin is widely accepted, then nothing bad will ever happen again. Things don't, like, bad things don't stop happening, but that's not bad, I guess. Like, at least it's not good to look at it like that. Like, you have to look at something bad, or the way you feel, or something bad happening to you, even if it's not a learning experience, and it is just like, I should have known that this was a bad idea and whatever. It's still good to think of it as one and just be like, yep, well, that taught me something. Because it does make it better. Because it's so hacky, but I'm not even going to say what the proverb is, but it's Chinese proverb, something about living in interesting times. Or pray not that, or I don't know what they say, but it's don't ask for a easy life. No, that's what's his fucking name? Not Jet Li. From Enter the Dragon, Bruce Lee. Yeah. Either way, I think that we'll probably have that kind of prophecy or whatever it is of just don't live in simple times, live in interesting times. We hope that you live in interesting times. I think now everybody says this. I feel like I haven't before, so maybe this has some weight, but I think the next 10 years are going to be interesting. Now, that's not a positive, that's not a negative. I'm just saying, as far as if you can detach yourself enough from the kind of grand politic of life, I don't even know what that means, but I feel like it has a good ring to it. If you can detach yourself from the little, I don't even know what they are, like these little sparring matches that everybody has over mostly pointless stuff. Like most of it isn't really that big of a deal. Like any single thing isn't going to be that big of a deal. So once you can detach yourself enough where you just don't pay attention to the little things, I think it almost helps, because then you can kind of see the whole overarching, like, how things are going. Like, I don't know. This is definitely ranging into, like, conspiracy stuff, but I do remember in, like, 2012. Now, I have no way of proving this, and I'll probably end this episode with something about this, and then we'll see how much longer I go. But in, like, 2012 or something. It was something whenever Obama was still president. Nobody had come out yet. I think it was probably at Obama's president. I was kind of like coherent as a child for the wait, was I? No, I was coherent as a child pretty much for the Romney and Obama one, the first one. And I think like a couple years into that, I said, no, it was probably his last term, because I wasn't old enough. I was still super into like going to the military for Jesus. But no, I was kind of like coherent for that. I was 18 when Obama was still president, so I was already kind of into the more libertarian stuff. But I remember telling somebody, I hope Daniel can somehow corroborate this, but I was like, after Obama, just because of the way that everybody lost their shit online about, and I don't mean that in the sense of like everybody loving him, that's part of it, but the people who hated him were just like, he's like, you don't have an ID. What? Well, I don't even remember. Like there were all kinds of just little dumb scandals, and like, oh, he called somebody retarded about playing Wii golf. Oh, we got him. How dare you, Mr. President? We should represent us better. How dare you bow to the Asian leader here? Why? How dare you do that? But you can kind of like zoom yourself out of Trump. Look at Obama, and this is what I said was, Obama was the Democrats' thing. I don't remember enough of Bush or Clinton. I was too young, so I don't know how it was before then. But at least with how big the internet's gotten, and we'll see how this goes. But I think this will hold true that what Obama was to Democrats, and especially at the beginning, like far socialists, kind of a lot of them, they kind of got logged in with, oh, he's going to change things, is what Trump did for kind of disenfranchised men and women, but also just the whole, like, his speech is way more on the side of conservatism or that idea of the 80s America than it really was. Like, Obama talked a lot about ending things and changing things, but same thing with Trump. There hasn't been that much of a change. It's not like there's more media coverage about how stupid the people are who do it, but we knew that before. Like, they're not stupid. They're just reckless because it's not theirs. They get to do this for 4 or 8 years and they don't have to deal with it anymore. That's like, they just go, yep, no, we're just going to run this until see what happens. Like, they don't have any, again, incentive to keep it around longer than that. Unless Trump's going God Emperor and is just sticking around forever. But I think that what Obama was to conservatives is what Trump is to liberals, as far as it's just this, wow, he's still, like, I remember all these people on Facebook with these, we're taking back America, and the date for whenever Obama was going out of office in his second term. I remember in his first term with people having these things going, like, we're going to vote him out. We're taking our country back. It's like, this is exactly what the liberals are doing now. And nobody will admit that. Nobody will go, yep, no, that makes, like, that, it is exactly, the whole outrage thing is just switched parties, and now the conservatives are like, how dare you be a traitor to our government, why are you talking like this? And then that was exactly what the liberals said before with Obama, and it's just this big, it's not even a smoke screen, it's just, hey, look at him, he likes what, like, it's just, hey, hate that person. It's, oh, okay, like, let's pay attention to what's affecting all of us instead of going, well, this person over here might like something other than I do, and he doesn't really have any power to do that. But if I threaten to vote against him, he's going to threaten to vote against me, and this wonderful thing called democracy will happen. But instead of being okay with that, I'm going to go online and call people a traitor because they post a picture of the president and put a dick on his head or something like that. Like, what is this? What are we doing anymore? I don't even really, I don't get it. I don't get anything anymore. And this is, it's dumb when people talk about the simulation theory thing, because that would still make more sense than whatever the fuck we're doing. And like, it would make things more palatable to think of it like that, instead of us just being that kind of blind to things. And I don't want to go into and make all these like things about sheep or something like that, because that gets like real conspiracy douchey whenever you can say a sheep. But and I get it, because I obviously I have to admit to myself that I have this in my life in some place I don't know, and that I will purposely kind of put up like mental blinders to things that, like, if there's like a Reddit story about a dog being killed, I'm like, I don't want to read that, so I'm just not even going to think about, like, just focus. But there's this, and it has to be partially too because we just have so much information now, we probably can't keep track of it. Maybe this many people were never really made to be a part of a nation together. I mean, we've kind of made it work so far, but who knows how long that's going. Maybe something, I don't want to be that super negative, but if we can convince ourselves that we're being like that there is any difference between the kind of, like, how one side shows the other in politics for over the last two presidents, at least. Now, Bush, I have a vague memory of him getting pretty skewered by the media. They did the same. They called him a Nazi. I mean, people called Obama not, like, it's every single president has been called Hitler, because I don't remember what it was, but there's this law on the, I don't know why I'm explaining to you guys, but there's a law on the internet about anytime there's an argument, there's so many degrees separation from somebody referencing Hitler or Nazis. Every single person has been called Nazis. And now, because there's some random dude who is basically just like the ultimate socialist in Richard Spencer, now that there's this guy talking, now everyone's like, the white nationalists, they're rising up, they're going to take over everything. What? I don't even know what's going to happen. And say, yeah, maybe, or we'll probably just keep on watching fucking some new bullshit movie or some new Black Hawk Down movie or Saving Private Ryan. I'm gonna go, those soldiers are really doing stuff for me. I really like it. You see what they sacrificed on that beach. That wasn't exploitation, son. That was a true representation of warfare, not used gratuitously to sell tickets. That was meant to be respectful. Now, your joke right now is in very bad taste. And I swear to God, sir, if I will kill you. I will kill you over the freedom I threatened to defend, or I fought to defend. But yeah, I don't know. This is just going to be like I said, I'm not negative, or maybe this is just me getting them out. But I'm kind of almost positive about the future, because at least I can go, this is going to get interesting, if only because we have no recollection that we're doing the exact same thing over and over again. And we're going to keep doing it. And I think this just exists in personal life as well. As far you just get in a routine of doing things, and you have these habits, and then those habits affect, like, you build your life around whatever those habits are. And you have to pick productive habits, or at least evolving habits, or else you will just get to the point where it's easier to just get in a cycle and repeat it. I've had weird jobs since I got out of school, because I've always done like a half side business, or not even a side, because it's seasonal work, but I've always run something for myself and then done side work with people. I don't even know where this was going. I'm sorry about that. I apologize. I need to end this episode because I've been ranting for too long. I'm starting to go down things that don't even follow with the rest of the podcast. But thank you for listening. I guess I'll probably I guess I have to do a little bit more now because I have to throw an ad in here.
Hey guys, today's show is brought to you by Chronologic.network. Chronologic is an Ethereum-based project that aims to solve time-related problems on the blockchain. Through Chronologic's 3 core products, the Ethereum alarm clock, debt smart contracts, and the day token minting mechanism, they solve the problems of payment scheduling, crypto loan time constraints, and unstable token launches. Find out more at Chronologic.network.
Now back with the most natural progression. I'm waiting for Daniel to get mad at me for putting these at the end, because, I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. Because I do the read at the very beginning, so it's already on there. But again, check out Chronologic, guys. Check out Chronologic.network. Let them know they heard about us, heard about them through us. This has been Tim's 2 cents. Again, I need a new podcast name. I can't really just end it like that, though. That's a little bit too dark, because I don't want to leave that, because I feel like that's a bad representation of how I think, because I can be at the same time this negative and this kind of pessimistic about people. I can also be positive, because that's fine. That's like, especially if you can try to break yourself out of habits, and especially if you can try to break your... Oh, that's what I was talking about. As far as like getting stuck with doing me just doing a job where somebody else was telling me what to do, was giving me tasks, is so much more relaxing than doing something for yourself. Just because people, not to say that I'm a huge businessman, because I definitely don't do it as much as like most people would, but there is a forgotten kind of there's an investment that someone like that if you're a business owner, someone in that like that makes into something. So then you should be compensated for that. You should be given part of that. But that's why it is nice to have somebody else, just because then they, like, the person above you just gives you tasks to do. It is your responsibility to get them accomplished, but if something's wrong with them, if something is slow, he's going to get yelled at by somebody else, and then he's going to yell at you, but he keeps you away from the higher-ups, probably. Who knows? That's my little defense of bosses. Now, they can be shitty too. I understand that. But you do have to look at them as that. But cycles, don't get stuck in something that's comfortable. If something's comfortable, yeah, it's probably nice. And I'm not saying I don't do that because I'm lazy too. But if something's comfortable and something's easy, it's not helping you develop something. If it's not being challenged, if something isn't making you feel uncomfortable or edgy about something, you're not accomplishing something because you've somehow attained just bliss. Now, you've somehow attained an ability to just not worry about it, not care about something. And I don't even know if I finished this point before, but I'll say it now. I think that someone who is successful in life is someone who takes that feeling of anxiety and worry about something and goes, well, now I'm going to try to fix it. And I'm not going to try. My way of fixing it isn't going to be, well, I need to go to therapy or I need to start taking a certain drug or drinking or something like that. If you're going to actually fix the problem, then you need to. The problem is never going to be fixed. The anxiety is never going to go away. But if you can use that anxiety to push you, you're going to be doing a lot better than most people. At least I would think. If you're able to turn that problem into that thing that weighs on people, if you're able to turn that into that, if you're able to turn that into motivation, you can accomplish a lot of things. Maybe you won't be successful, but you will accomplish things. I can at least give you that. This is no guarantee of success, but you will accomplish things and you will do things. So I guess take that, use your anxiety, try not to get stuck into a repetitive thing. Don't get stuck in a repetitive thing in what you do, what you watch, that's why I don't like shows. I don't particularly like, not that I hate movies, but I try not to watch them too much because I will just, in my past, I've definitely just spent an entire day just watching like pirated movies on my laptop. But don't do that. The reason why I don't like shows is because you can just, one more, and the story just goes on and on and on. It's just so interesting, but it's just a time pit, and there's better time pits to spend that in. There's better things that you can develop. There's better things you can do. So try to figure that out. I guess try to develop yourself. Hope you like the podcast. Again, I'm at Baker's Dozen 93. Follow me there. Thank you for listening, and let me know what you thought of the episode. Thanks.